Abercrombie & Fitch, the fashion mega brand worth billions of dollars, they are in the spotlight for the alleged actions of the man who led the company for 2 decades. But Mike Jeffries and Abercrombie, they have been in the headlines before for apparent bad behavior. As Jeffries now stands accused of running an international sex trafficking operation, we're going to take a look at the multiple controversies the brand has weathered over the years. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey everybody, this is a Law and Crime legal alert. A mother was recently awarded millions of dollars in a lawsuit against baby formula manufacturers after her premature baby was diagnosed with necrotizing enterocolitis or NEC after receiving bovine-based formula. The lawsuits allege that Enfamil and Similac premature formulas, they are linked to NEC, but the manufacturers, they failed to warn the public of the risks and instead targeted them with false advertising. So if your premature baby was diagnosed with NEC after they were fed Enfamil or Similac, you may qualify for compensation. And one of our legal sponsors is partnering with Wagstaff Law Firm. This is a national firm renowned for their expertise to ensure that eligible claims are thoroughly presented. Visit babyformuladamages.com/sidebar to answer less than 10 questions and check your eligibility to file a claim. Iconic clothing brand Abercrombie & Fitch is at the center of a wild new sex scandal involving its former CEO, his longtime partner, and a third man who allegedly acted as a recruiter, maybe tester would be the better word, luring or allegedly luring in young male models for the men's apparent sex sessions. 80-year-old Michael Jeffries pleaded not guilty to 16 criminal charges in a New York federal court last week. He's accused of international sex trafficking and prostitution. The former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch was arrested in his home state of Florida, where he put up a $10 million bond. He was released, smiling for the cameras as he left. He then traveled to New York, where he was arraigned, entered his plea. He has to wear a GPS monitor. We're told that that would restrict his movements to New York City, Long Island, the Southern District of Florida. His partner, 61-year-old Matthew Smith, also turned himself in, but he's being held without bail because of his dual citizenship. You see, Smith is also a citizen of the United Kingdom, which prosecutors say could increase the chances that he can make a run for it. So he's actually not entered a plea as of yet. And then we go to the third man in this alleged awful triangle, James Jacobson, who lives in Wisconsin. According to the criminal indictment, Jacobson served as a recruiter, convincing young male models who wanted to make it in the industry and get a huge opportunity with Abercrombie that they needed to perform non-consensual sex acts with him, as well as his alleged co-conspirators, to make that happen. He also entered a not guilty plea. He's out on a $500,000 bond. The accusations against these men are incredibly disturbing, incredibly graphic. If you want to learn more, read the indictment. We actually did a prior sidebar on this. But the alleged victims say that Jeffries took this Abercrombie brand from a struggling company to a fashion powerhouse in the 1990s and early 2000s. And they allege that when he did this, he was basically elevated to an untouchable status within the company. There's this other class action lawsuit, and it claims that other executives within Abercrombie, they knew what was going on, but they kept funding Jeffries' lifestyle because he was so profitable and valuable to the company. And this allegedly included funding and facilitating orgies disguised as casting calls. Now, as we talk about Abercrombie, I can't really overstate its presence. For those of us growing up at the turn of the century, this was the brand. This was the powerhouse among young people. It was everywhere. The preppy clothes paired with overtly sexual advertising focused on male models, it skyrocketed the brand to success. And eventually it spawned spin-off stores like Abercrombie Kids and Hollister. I mean, come on, think about it. You were bound to find an Abercrombie & Fitch store, in every mall in America, and just about everyone seemed to be wearing the jeans, the t-shirts, the polos. President Bill Clinton and his daughter Chelsea were even spotted shopping at an Abercrombie & Fitch store in 1995. Now, under Jeffries' leadership, Abercrombie was bringing in billions of dollars. But that kind of success sometimes comes with controversy. And while some of Abercrombie's problems have been with their public image, others have been battles that have played out in the courtroom. And that's what we're going to get into. That's what we're going to focus on to get a better idea of the context and background of this company, because its company and its former CEO are now thrust into the spotlight in a very new way. So, I want to start with some pretty questionable t-shirt designs from the company. For instance, there were those that appeared to have a central theme: racist jokes about the Asian community. You might remember this. The shirts that were released in 2002, they had slogans like Pizza Dojo, You Love Long Time, Eat In or Walk Out, and Wong Brothers Laundry Service, 2 Wongs can make it white. Now, Asian American groups, they staged protests in front of Abercrombie stores. They sent the company angry emails and letters. In fact, just 1 week after the shirts were put on shelves, they were pulled. The spokesman for Abercrombie told the Associated Press at the time that the company was very, very, very sorry. But here's the thing, CEO Mike Jeffries, who we're talking about right now, never made any sort of formal apology. But the company continued to face backlash for its t-shirt designs, with more protests in 2004 over shirts that said "It's all relative" in West Virginia, seemingly referencing the stereotype of incestuous relationships in rural America. And at the time, West Virginia's governor actually called out the company for promoting what he said was an unfounded negative stereotype of his state. There was also backlash over a 2009 back-to-school collection that said things like "female streaking encouraged" and "female students wanted for sexual research." Do you remember this? I mean, looking back, I can't believe they actually made these shirts. But there was something else that happened that really didn't help their PR image. Because in 2006, CEO Mike Jeffries famously did an interview with Salon magazine about the company's target customer. And this is what he said: "That's why we hire good-looking people in our stores, because good-looking people attract other good-looking people, and we want to market to cool, good-looking people. We don't market to anyone other than that. In every school, there are the cool and popular kids, and then there are the not-so-cool kids. Candidly, we go after the cool kids. We go after the attractive, all-American kid with a great attitude and a lot of friends. A lot of people don't belong in our clothes, and they can't belong. Are we exclusionary? Absolutely." Yikes. And with that, Abercrombie has long been criticized, primarily because they say they focus on white, thin customers, that image. And its guidelines for what it wants employees to look like, that has drawn criticism too. In June 2003, a lawsuit known as Gonzalez v. Abercrombie and Fitch stores accused the retailer of violating Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. You see, the plaintiffs in this class action lawsuit alleged that Abercrombie, they focused on hiring white men as employees, turning down female applicants, as well as people who were Latino, Black, Asian American. If those people were hired, the plaintiff said, they were relegated to backroom jobs where they wouldn't really be seen on the sales floor. As part of a settlement in this case, Abercrombie was ordered to pay $40 million to the Black, Latino, Asian American, and female applicants who tried to get hired but were rebuffed. They also were told to revise their hiring practices and internal complaint procedures. They also had to appoint a vice president of diversity, hire recruiters that were specifically seeking out minority applicants, and they also had to include more minorities in marketing materials. Now, let's not forget, Abercrombie is a global brand, which means some of their controversies, they have happened across the pond, and that includes in the 2009 case of Rhiam Dean. Now, she was a British law student who had worked at the company's flagship store in London. Now, Dean was born without a left forearm, and she wears a prosthetic. She says Abercrombie initially allowed her to wear clothing that hid her prosthetic, but later on, she says the company decided that she had breached the look policy, and they sent her to work in the stockroom. She sued for disability discrimination, and a tribunal ruled that she was wrongfully dismissed and unlawfully harassed. In the end, she was awarded over $10,000 in damages. Well, let's fast forward now to 2013. And this is when BuzzFeed obtains copies of Abercrombie's employee lookbook. And this lookbook details the company's really intense employee appearance policies, including the color of one's hair, how long your fingernails could be, how much jewelry you could wear. Brings us, of course, to Abercrombie's policies about headwear. So now we go to June 2008. A 17-year-old named Samantha Eloff applied for a sales position at an Abercrombie kids store at a Tulsa, Oklahoma mall. Now, here's the thing. She wore a hijab in accordance with her Islamic religious beliefs. She claimed that the manager told her that the headscarf violated the store's look policy, so they weren't going to hire her. Well, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission sued on her behalf. That led to a long court battle where she initially won $20,000 in damages, but an appeals court overturned it. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court, which ruled 8-1 in her favor, and namely said and ruled that an employer can't refuse to hire someone so they can avoid a religious accommodation. And as that case was ongoing, Abercrombie was faced with another dilemma over a headscarf. You see, a Muslim woman who worked at a Hollister store in California in 2010 says that she was fired because she refused to remove her hijab. But Human Resources said it violated their look policy. So what happened? Well, a company representative reportedly contacted Hani Khan more than a week after she was fired, offered her the job back, but the condition was she couldn't wear the hijab. Khan refused. In the end, a federal judge ruled that Abercrombie discriminated against her, holding, quote, reasonable jurors could determine that by offering Khan one option to remove her hijab despite her religious beliefs, Abercrombie acted with malice, reckless indifference. Now, all of these controversies that I mentioned, they were thrust into the spotlight once again recently in a 2022 Netflix documentary called White Hot: The Rise and Fall of Abercrombie and Fitch, where former employees and activists, they talked about many of the issues that I've just mentioned. But it was a BBC documentary that now thrusts the company back into the center stage and arguably is the reason that the company's former CEO is now in federal court. This long-running BBC investigation uncovered heinous allegations against former CEO Mike Jeffries. Alleged victims told their stories in a recently released documentary called The Abercrombie Guys: The Dark Side of Cool. One of those participants is an American named David Bradbury. He filed a lawsuit against Jeffries and Abercrombie that eventually became a class action lawsuit on behalf of dozens of alleged victims. According to Bradbury's lawsuit, as well as the federal government in this indictment and apparent victims in the BBC investigation, Jeffries would hold parties referred to as sex events disguised as casting calls for young models. The complaint says at the events, the models were then pressured, if not forced to take drugs, were surrounded by security, and were required to participate in sex acts with Jeffries and others, including Smith, all at Jeffries' direction. The models were led to believe that being sexually abused by the CEO of Abercrombie or his partner at a remote private location, reasonably believed to be arranged by the company, was the price that was paid to obtain one of the most coveted roles in the industry, an Abercrombie model. This fact was reiterated to them several times by several different people who were known to have knowledge of the inner workings of the industry. In fact, going back to the criminal case, U.S. Attorney for New York's Eastern District, Breon Peace, laid out some of these horrific allegations in a news conference last week.
As we allege in the indictment, between 1992 and 2014, Michael Jeffries was the chief executive officer of Abercrombie and Fitch. Abercrombie was a widely known clothing retailer with stores around the world. Aspiring fashion models knew that a place on one of Abercrombie's iconic ads could be the ticket to success in the modeling industry. But while Jeffries was the CEO of one of the most recognizable clothing retailers in the world, he was using his power, his wealth, and his influence to traffic men for his own sexual pleasure and that of his romantic partner, Matthew Smith.
By the way, when Bradbury first filed his lawsuit in October of last year, so this is long before Jeffries and his alleged co-conspirators or accomplices were charged, Abercrombie & Fitch, they released a statement to the media, and it said, "We are appalled and disgusted by the behavior described in the allegations against Mr. Jeffries, whose employment with Abercrombie & Fitch ended in 2014, nearly 10 years ago. Speaking up and coming forward is not easy, and our thoughts are with those who bravely raise their voices. Since being contacted by the BBC, we have engaged an outside law firm to conduct an independent investigation into the issues raised. The company's current executive leadership team and board of directors were not aware of the allegations of sexual misconduct by Mr. Jeffries. For close to a decade, a new executive leadership team and refreshed board of directors have successfully transformed our brands and culture into the values-driven organization we are today. We have zero tolerance for abuse, harassment, or discrimination of any kind." Now, Abercrombie, they haven't been criminally charged for what it's worth, but Bradbury's lawsuit says that much of the blame directly lies at the feet of Abercrombie and its leadership, claiming they knew what was going on, but they didn't stop because the money that they were making was just too good. So we're going to be keeping a very close eye on how all of these legal issues progress, but now you have a better sense of the past of Abercrombie and Fitch, the past of Mike Jeffries, kind of puts everything else into context. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.